Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Cara. How are you?
Yeah, doing good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I am a bit chilly, but apart from that, that's fine. We can blanket up. There's solutions to the chilliness. We are fine. We are okay.
I am once again wearing the lovely quilted socks that you gave
they're a
us for
staple
Christmas.
now.
So yeah, they are.
They
They
are
are
a
keeping
staple.
my feet safe and toasty. So yeah.
I must have taken mine somewhere because I was so today's book box day, so I put all the book boxes in the bag, and in the bag were my socks. So I must have taken them somewhere with me. I must have taken them to someone's house, like you did, being like,
Oh
"These are
yeah,
my."
like a
Yeah, so
sleepover socks.
I must have found them again. Yeah, like
Oh,
I
or
must have taken them
jam.
somewhere.
Jam
Or
was like, you
well,
need
that is
these.
a
Just put them in that bag.
yeah. He it was very funny the other day. Oh, it's so boring. It's such a dull anecdote,
I love
actually.
dog stuff.
It's just I lost a slipper sock. So slipper socks in bed because it's winter and we live in a very drafty house. And I'd lost one of my socks because sometimes I kick them off in the night because it's hot. You get too hot. And then I was like, oh, it must be in the bed somewhere. Look at it. Anyway, the next night couldn't find them. I was like, oh, fine, whatever. I miraculously pulled out one the other day, and I was like, "Where have you been?"
Oh,
Like he's been squirreling away these
does
socks,
he have
and
a
they
little
just
trove?
magically appear. I think he's got a little trunk of a tree somewhere where he keeps all his little finds. But
I
it was
love it.
just so we've got one back, but I don't know where the other.
Just wait.
The
When
where
you're
will it
deemed
be?
worthy, Jam will bring it back,
Yeah,
and
and
you
why
deserve
am
it.
I only being rewarded with one sock? Not both of my socks back. But yeah, I'm convinced that he pops into the forest, finds this little treasure trove tree, and just pops them in there for a little while.
As long as it's your socks he's bringing you from his
It
treasure
was,
trove,
and it was all
that's all
intact.
good.
There was no holes. There was no
Oh.
slobber marks.
Oh yeah, that
It
would
was
not have been the
all,
case with Ted. It had been
yeah,
shredded.
pristine sock return. Mad, isn't it?
Well, I think he's got the makings of an excellent housemaid, house servant, like
Yeah,
bringing you your
a house
things. Yeah,
dog.
yeah, absolutely. House
Hmm.
dog, doing the jobs.
When he deems necessary.
Yeah, when you're worthy.
When you are worthy.
Oh, all this levity, and I'm about to bring us crashing into a really hard story. So it's a
Okay.
bit of a
Is it a
it's a bit of a
worthwhile
90
story
degree
though?
turn. It is a worthwhile story.
Okay, that's good. That's all
Are
we're
you
here for.
ready to begin? Shall I kind of
Yeah, let's go.
get us kicking into it? Yeah. So people will have noticed that I am American, and you know it's obviously
It's not
right
your
out there.
fault.
It's well, it's yeah. On that note, it's been a pretty heavy news cycle. So I think for me, when times are like that, you kind of can go one of two ways. You can sort of lean into the levity and the things that take your mind off of it, and you can use joy as resistance, or you can sort of try to look for the people who are out there facing down really dark times, really heavy things, and finding it in them to survive and persist and rise above. And today's story is the second sort of story. And I'll start out with a really big trigger warning because it talks a lot about the things that she experienced around violence and sexual violence in specific. So if this is not something that is safe for you to listen to, absolutely bow out. But if you are going to stay, I promise you that her story is one where she has transformed suffering and terrible things that others have done to this amazing mission. And she's such a warrior to make
Wow.
the world a safer place for women and for girls. So the lady we're talking about today is Nadia Murad.
Okay.
She's an activist, a Nobel laureate, and
Ew.
a passionate campaigner for the Yazidi people. So there's a gorgeous, gorgeous photo of her here.
Yes, that's a very recent
And
picture. Is this modern
it
history?
is, it is, yeah.
Mhm.
She's a contemporary. She's probably younger, maybe definitely younger than me, possibly about the same age as you. We shall see.
Okay.
So our sources for today are the website for her own foundation, which is Nadia's Initiative, a website called YazidisInternational.org, the Nobel Prize website, good old Britannica. We
Oh,
love our
yay.
Britannica. Georgetown Uni, they had an interview with her where she talks about her Nobel Prize. Forbes, likewise. National Geographic, talking about the history of the Yazidi people in Iraq. And the novel called There Are Rivers in the Sky by Alif Shafak, and more specifically, the afterword, also by that author, where I've learned so much about the Yazidi people and the history of what happened in Iraq.
Okay.
So that is where we are beginning. And here we can do a little age comparison. So Nadia Murad was born in March in 1993 in Kocho.
That's interesting.
Iraq.
So that says March 1993. I am February 1992. So
Oh,
very
gosh.
similar. Yeah, very
Yeah,
similar.
similar age. So yeah, very much a contemporary story. It's a time of year, apparently, where a lot of Yazidi children are born because the start of their new year kind of conceptually is in April, spring and awakening. So she's born into this village in the Sinjar region, in this little kind of close-knit farming community. She has her parents, and hold on to your butt, she has 15 siblings / step siblings altogether. So this is a massive family. But she grew up as a happy kid in this village environment. She loved studies. All of our subjects always seemed to love reading and studying. She wanted to be a teacher. She loved to learn about history.
Cute.
And like from your perspective and from mine, it might seem really clear that Iraq in the early 90s was in a state of upheaval, conflict, war. But for her, because she was growing up in this community, she really had a sense of feeling quite secure. So there's a little quote here from her.
I did not know anything, Nadia says, of her generally peaceful childhood. I did not know anything about what ISIS was or what it was going to do. And that's from Time magazine.
Yeah, so I was utterly unaware of how entrenched the kind of warfare on religious lines was within Iraq itself. So
Okay.
You grew up in that time. Did you see a lot in the news about the Iraq War and those acts of terrorism that we're all familiar with from that point of history?
We were even studying it at school as it was happening. So it was, and we were in a very rural, like there's 9 kids in my year. Like we were a very, very small school. I can't remember how many kids there were in total, maybe like 60.
She had more children in her family than you had in your class.
I know. It's mad.
That's a small class.
I think that reflects me more than her, maybe. I don't know. But sorry. So, but I remember there was stuff because it was such a big thing. Like we had a little radio show come in or something, and we had like actual lessons on it as it was happening, I think, because it was such a big shift in.
There was an initiative, wasn't there? I think by the BBC to do news for kids. So you were learning these things as they were happening. But if you imagine you were in the country where it's happening and you're not getting any news whatsoever, it's not on your doorstep yet. So
God, no, yeah. This
is the situation for Nadia. But to give you kind of a little bit of background that I found helpful, I didn't know much of anything about the Yazidi people until I read this novel and started hearing more about it, and then read about her. So is that something that you know about?
No, it was more the start of the war. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
I
about
guess
10 years
that's
ahead.
where where our Western kind of focus would be.
Yeah.
For her group, the Yazidis are basically, it is a religious group that lives principally in northern Iraq. They are a Kurdish-speaking people, but they are not just the Kurdish, which is,
Okay.
an ethnic group people have heard of. They have a really specific religious belief, which is they believe that everyone in the world is descended from Adam and Eve, but the Yazidi people are descended from Adam alone. And I don't know the technical ins and outs of that. It sounds complex, but
Whatever
you
you
know
want,
what
babe,
religion's
if
like.
that's
You
what you
just
want.
say, okay, that's your thing.
That's your
So
thing.
that they hold themselves as a distinct people in that sense. They also have a separate God. And this God is a figure called Tawusi Malek, who is the Lord of the world and responsible for all things good and evil. That figure is also seen by other religions, from Islam to Christianity, whoever you may be, as being a fallen angel. And as a result of that belief set, some religious groups regard the Yazidis as devil worshippers because they follow a demon. And
Yeah.
so there's this really ancient, deep-seated religious, I don't want to use the word beef, it's so flippant, but this deep-seated religious antipathy. That's a proper
Yeah,
adult word.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it has had serious consequences throughout history. There have been atrocities committed against the Yazidis because when you dehumanize a group of people, it is much easier to permit terrible things to be done to them.
Yeah, 100%. The
And
Holocaust.
yeah, this is exactly the
Yeah.
sort of thing. And so the Yazidis have faced persecution for centuries, genocide attempts, and so on. And that's the kind of cultural and historic freight that being born a Yazidi person carries with it.
Okay.
So, as a kind of natural consequence of that, you have a community that pulls in on itself, that
Yeah.
strengthens itself, close knit, strongly identifying with that cultural background, with a huge interreliance on your own family and friends. And that can lead to a little bit of disconnect, I think, between what's going on in the outside world. So this is the situation that we find ourselves in. And we are now in 2014. And Nadia is 21 years old, still living
Okay.
in this community. And at this point, the extremist group ISIS invaded that Sinjar region where Nadia lived.
Wow.
And
So it took
they
them that
launched,
long. That's a long
they
time, isn't it?
there have been a series of campaigns. The 90s was a time when certainly the US had forces on the ground in Iraq
Okay.
around Saddam Hussein and so on.
Yeah.
And ISIS as a group, I don't know that much about the history of ISIS, but at this point they were just starting to gain some
Momentum again.
traction and
Yeah.
starting to kind of put down their
Yeah.
plans.
Probably
So the
because the US had
invasion,
left by then.
I think that that is
Yeah.
exactly where we find ourselves,
Okay,
that,
got you.
you're kind of in this period of instability and this group springs up into that vacuum.
Yeah.
They've now made moves against the Sinjar region where the Yazidis have always made their home. And it was a calculated genocide. There's a
Yeah.
really challenging quote here from Nadia's site that kind of gives a concise history of what happened and how fast.
Over the course of 2 weeks, the Sinjar region of Iraq was invaded by the so-called Islamic State, ISIS. ISIS militants undertook a strategized campaign to ethnically cleanse Yazidis from existence. There's more. Approximately 400,000 Yazidis fled. The rest, unable to flee, were killed or taken into captivity and subjected to horrific acts of violence, enslavement, forced labor, conscription, torture, and rape.
So,
Oh, wow.
in addition to all of those things, ISIS physically destroyed the Yazidis' homes, their homeland, burned their farms in order to prevent them from ever returning. So in that
2
time,
weeks is nothing, is
2
it?
weeks,
It's absolutely
it is
blink.
an absolute blink of an eye, and they did so much harm. Nadia's mother and 6 of her brothers were killed in that raid.
Seriously. Wow.
Nadia herself was captured and enslaved for sexual gratification, along with many other women her age and younger. She experienced rape. She experienced death threats. In all, more than 6,000 women and children were enslaved by the Islamic State, and over 2,500 of those people are still missing now, and we are more than a decade later.
Wow.
So these things were possible because of those deep-seated religious biases that we talked about at the start, but they were also possible because whereas other religious groups in Iraq had a degree of protection and recognition under the law, the Yazidis, for those historical reasons, were unrecognized and unprotected. So the ISIS leadership is said to have really calculatedly worked out that young Yazidi women could be abducted and used as an enticement to lure young men to join ISIS.
You were
And
joking.
that there were no laws. Yeah, it was a deliberate strategy. And
oh, that's so dark. Oh my God.
yeah, it really truly is. And these women were treated terribly.
Okay.
They had no protection whatsoever, including a basic recognition as human beings by their captors. So it is absolutely unimaginable, the suffering that is happening. And this is where Nadia finds herself. She's a 21-year-old woman who's lived in a rural community surrounded by her family, her friends. And she goes in the space of 2 weeks from that to this.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so 3 months into this, Nadia is obviously suffering, devastated, weakened, but somehow finds within herself the resolve to fight and to resist. So she says that part of what drove her defiance was when she realized that what was being done to her and these women wasn't just being done by the men who were doing it. It was also the women, the neighbors, the children of those men who turned a blind eye while it happened. And I
So
think
she's
that
thinking big
sparked,
scale.
yeah, that
Yeah.
sparked something in her. It wasn't, it awoken something to think there are so many people complicit here. I can't accept this. I can't accept it. So Nadia attempted to escape and was captured and punished. And despite that, when she found herself left alone in a room with an unlocked door after another assault, she decided to try to escape again. And there's a quote here that tells how that went down.
Nadia jumped over a wall, walked through the night, and knocked on the door of strangers who risked their lives hiding her until it was safe to get her to a refugee camp. From there, Nadia went to Germany. Speaking of how a person can survive such an ordeal, Nadia says, "No one can take away our spirit." Okay.
Mm.
Isn't that fascinating that door was unlocked, and it's like such a sliding doors moment, isn't it? I guess, where that door was unlocked and she was like, "Okay, all right,
Now,
let's try."
now.
And
that thing
thank God.
about, like, you can't, it's something that I think it's Eli Wiesel, a Holocaust survivor, talks about, that someone can do things to you, but what is inside of you is yours. And as long as that spirit is there is some hope for resistance and healing and recovery. And that's her in a nutshell. She just, even though she had already tried and it hadn't worked, she tried again. The other thing that I took away from that I find so moving in such a bleak story is that family who helped her, they were a Sunni Muslim family. They weren't Yazidi. They were just people who lived in the town where
Thank
this was all
God.
taking place.
Yeah.
But like she pointed out, so many people in that town will have seen and heard and done nothing about things that maybe they didn't agree with, but because it was such a risk to them. The IS
I get that.
soldiers would punish anyone who assisted these women
Yeah.
as though they were the enemy. So that family had nothing to gain and everything to lose, but they
Yeah.
did the right thing anyway.
And also,
And
this
how
is a child, isn't it, that's turned up at your door, I imagine. She's like, what, 14,
she's
12?
21 at that
Oh,
point,
she's
but
21.
still,
Sorry.
yeah, she's a desperate young woman, and she would have been in a very physically a bad condition because they
Mm,
weren't particularly fed or given enough sleep
yeah.
or anything. So she was desperately in need, and they responded, which I think is beautiful. And
Mm,
it's what you hope anyone would do. So, yep, okay. So she is broken free. She has
yes. Good
found
for her.
someone kind and decent who has helped her, and then she has gone to Germany as an asylum seeker, and we are
Yes.
now in 2015.
Because I'm comparing her age to my age so much, and I was thinking what I was doing at 2015, in 2015. It's just mad, isn't it, that I was on the lash.
Yeah, well, you
You
think
know what
about
I
how
mean?
young you feel at that
Yeah.
age and how comparatively free you are when you're living in a system like we
Yeah. Yeah.
were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think
your
that's my
20s
brain
are
just trying
tough.
to cope with it. So I'm like, oh, she,
It's a
yeah,
lot. It's a
exactly. Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the turning point for her where,
Okay.
you
So
know,
she's in Germany. Great. Thank God for
she's
the
in Germany,
refugee
she's
program.
safe,
Yeah.
she's able to find safety. And I think that's the point where I'm so impressed with her as an individual because I think after trauma like that, it would be utterly understandable to just withdraw and to look after yourself and to try to heal up. But her way to heal and to recover was to speak publicly about what had happened to her because she was very aware that the world didn't see, even now, even, people who lived through those times
Yeah.
from the Western world, we weren't necessarily shown those parts of that
Of
conflict.
course.
So she was on that and thought, no, there are still people there suffering. It's still happening now. I'm not having it. So she spoke about these incredibly private, painful, terrifying things that happened to her. And she really focused that advocacy on raising awareness about Islamic State and the genocide. She wanted to look for justice for survivors. She wanted to find the people who were still missing.
Yeah.
And she wanted to reconstruct her homeland so that her people
Hmm.
could go back to where they wanted to live. There's a quote here from her about what speaking with honesty meant to her.
The terrorists didn't think that Yazidi girls would be able to escape or that we would have the courage to tell the world every detail of what they did to us. Every time I tell my story, I feel I am taking some power away from those men and the women who supported them. My story, told honestly and matter of factly, is the best weapon I have against terrorism, and I plan on using it until those terrorists are put on trial.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, absolutely amazing. There's a
Mm,
picture here with a quote of hers that says, "We don't get anywhere by pacifying with politeness." She is
mm.
not standing down
But also,
and
she's not
telling her
being
truth.
rude, is she?
No,
Like,
she's just
politeness.
telling the truth about what happened to her.
Yeah, it's
And
just matter of factly.
what's the
Absolutely.
quote? If you want people to speak nicely about you, treat them better. Like
Yeah.
don't. So,
Yeah,
yep, she
100%.
got out there. She spoke to politicians. She spoke to public interest groups. She did interviews. She wrote books, and she spoke until the world listened.
Mm,
So we're now in 2016, and Nadia Murad is invited to be the UN's first Goodwill Ambassador for the Dignity of Survivors of Human Trafficking,
right.
which, what a title. I mean,
Okay.
it's a role literally that has been made for her.
Yeah.
She's perfect for it. And by 2018, the work she was doing was awarded with the Nobel Peace Prize because they recognized her unique contribution to
Yeah.
ending sexual violence as a weapon of war.
Got you.
So this is the point where she founds Nadia's Initiative, which is dedicated to all those focus points she had in her advocacy, specifically trying to rebuild communities that have been in crisis and advocating for those survivors of sexual violence.
I'm not being funny, but these skills, regardless of your trauma, they're amazing skills to build
right?
anyway. Like, let alone with all that baggage is probably not the right term, but you know that
With everything that had happened
there's not
to
many
her.
people that can get on that stage and
No.
like that global stage.
And she's like you or me, she's a chick from a little rural community who's gone to her little village school. And for her,
Yeah.
she's not a trained politician, but she just stood up and told the truth with
Yeah.
quiet dignity. And what a heart encouraging thing to see that in this sometimes bleak seeming world, that matters, that you can just speak the truth quietly and honestly, and that
Without
it can make a
consequence
difference.
to you
Yeah.
either. In a safe space, I guess is what I'm saying. In a
Yeah. She's using her position of safety to advocate for others who are
yeah,
still in danger.
which is definitely
Yeah,
the whole point, isn't it? Is putting the ladder down to help other people out, isn't
to
it? And
use your
once you're
privilege.
safe, use your, that's a much better wording. Use your privilege. Yes.
She was after it, and it's a mixed bag. The outcomes, it's a complex situation, and the ISIS perpetrators, for example, very few of them, despite the best efforts of both Nadia Murad and other activists and global groups, it's been patchy.
Yeah.
Very few of them have been held accountable. Iraq can't or won't prosecute on
Yeah.
crimes of genocide or sexual violence. But some cases have gone through in countries like Germany that have universal jurisdiction about war crimes. However, that sort of more comprehensive justice is still a goal. In the meantime, though, Nadia's initiative are working to rebuild Sinjar,
No way.
restoring those education systems, infrastructure, sanitation, and generally focused on overall rebuilding with a specific view to women's empowerment. And there's a quote here that says why that's the focus.
Oh, that's made me a bit. Sexual violence does not begin or end when the conflict does. So when we advocate for peace, I think it is crucial to demand justice and equity, not just the absence of conflict. This means addressing the root causes that make women vulnerable, systems of poverty and patriarchy, and empowering women to participate in peace building and development.
I think
Gosh.
that's it. She's looking at that big picture and saying, not
Yeah.
only, all right, we're here, how do we fix it? But we're here, how do we make it so that it does
The
not happen
systems of
again?
poverty and the systems of the patriarchy, just casually throw them in there as well while you're at it. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Take it all on. So she is working with hope to restore that land so that the hundreds of thousands of Yazidi people who are still displaced will be able to return to a safe, stable, sound environment.
What a hope. What like a beacon of hope
And
that must be
yeah, and
place.
while all that's going on, she's
Yeah.
also worked with the UN to develop something called the Murad Code, which is a process that they use in the collection of their evidence. Do you have it in you to read another quote? That's been a
Yeah,
quote
I
heavy
just want to
one.
know how she got in these spaces. Like, how do you get to a point where the UN is listening to you so strongly? And, what conversations must she have had to persuade them that this is the influence of her must be so. It's admirable. It's absolutely mind blowing.
I think it speaks to how arresting her character must be. If she
Yeah.
has met someone and they've thought, I cannot not listen. I must
Mm.
respond to this. That is a remarkable thing.
Yeah. The power of your voice.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And the sheer good luck of being in the room with the right people who were willing and able to hear
mm,
and act on what you're saying.
yeah, I love it. God. Whew. For years, survivors of systemic and conflict related sexual violence have shared their trauma about ineffective and unethical interactions with people gathering or using their information. The Murad Code Project is a global consultative initiative which aims to build better practice for, with, and concerning survivors of systemic and conflict related sexual violence.
Doesn't that just say it all? That she's not only going through this process, but she's thinking, as she's being interviewed about these things that happened to her, she's thinking, this interview feels wrong. This is not being handled correctly. How can I make this better? I'm going to feed
Right.
back to them and tell them people who've been through this don't need you doing XYZ. They
Got
need you
you.
doing
Yeah.
ABC. So her whole worldview is not just surviving, and that would have been enough. Just to survive would have been more than enough. But her whole approach to life is to improve the world for others.
Yeah.
She's got this quote where she says, people are sort of giving her this question about, at what point do when do you stop? And she says, I'll go back to my life when women in captivity go back to their lives, when my community has its place,
Also,
and
she's
when I
only
see people.
30. She's got a long way to go. You know what I mean? She can
Yeah.
achieve so much.
I think maybe what they're recognizing in the question is that she's done a lot for anyone, let alone somebody
Yeah.
who's been through what she's been through. She's achieved a lot. But
I
yeah,
would say she's
she's
like in her prime. You know what I mean? Like, if this is what she was put on the earth to do, this
it's
is her
so
peak. Let
clearly
her
is.
run.
It
Let
so
her run.
clearly is. Let her
Yeah.
cook. Right. So she's doing it. She's continuing with this advocacy, with this work to find the missing. And I think, without trying to sound too sappy about it, the last quote of this look at Nadia Murad is the thing that kind of called to me the most. It's the fact that despite everything, somehow she has this optimism, and I find that so beautiful and
Yeah.
so necessary.
And so precious. How easy would
Yeah,
it be not to have that?
to be
Yeah.
broken by it, to everything that she's seen and experienced. But yeah, if you would give us this last quote.
The world only has one border. It's called humanity. The differences between us are small compared to the shared humanity. Put humans first. Damn, girl.
Yeah, it's so moving. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to know more about Nadia and her work, if you want to support her, you
I
can go
do.
to the Nadia Initiative website, or you can find
Yes.
the first book she read, which is called The Last Girl, which she named for the fact that her dream as she escaped was to be the last girl in the world who suffered the experiences
Oh,
that she
all right,
lived
I'm
through.
gonna cry. I can't
It's
keep
beautiful, isn't
doing
it? She's
this. Yeah.
it's
Ah.
heavy, but it's meaningful and
Mm.
important. And I think, yeah, just sometimes hearing these things can be so hard, but I think we have to be strong and support that
My gosh, yes.
support
But out of
that
all the things we can
relentless,
support, sorry, go on.
yeah, just that commitment to making it better for others and not looking
Mm.
away and not flinching from it. It's so badass, and she's so cool. Yeah,
And it just
just
shows
what
the
a warrior.
importance of these refugee programs. And,
Honestly,
there's the need for kindness, like that when she knocked on that door, and like when she went to Germany. And those things can build even bigger and better things,
yeah,
including not traumatizing people in an interview and,
yeah, yeah,
so much other stuff. Ah, wow. It makes you
yeah.
feel very humble, doesn't it? And What a cool cookie.
So that is the story of Nadia Murad. And I don't know if you can hear, Ted is sleep woofing in the background.
Oh, Ted, it's okay.
He's
okay,
angry
babe.
about the injustices in the world as well. He's
It's
bless
true,
him.
isn't it? Because I did feel, I'm sure you felt this lately as well. I did feel quite helpless over the weekend. Yeah, what can you do? And actually, it's finding positive stuff like this that you can support, isn't it? That's one way
Absolutely.
to cope. Yeah, I did not know about that, about the Yazidi culture either, and
No,
the descendants from Adam and that kind of stuff as well. So much happened, didn't it, from the 90s to. But that's
it's
the same for the Israel. They're just the same wars, aren't they? Again and again and again, just in different iterations. Sometimes it feels like.
that's absolutely true. Those ancient sort of disputes and misunderstandings and loathings and complicated circumstances in these different countries. And yeah, I mean, without wishing to get too political about it, when other uninvolved countries become involved, there's a huge responsibility there, both to make sure that you understand before you go wading in, to be motivated by something other than who would I be best to align to for my own profit, and to support after the fact, because interventions in a country can have unintended but horrific consequences for the people in that country, like the Yazidis, who were left exposed by a post-war landscape that was not of their making. It was.
I was going to say, were they involved at all? Or was it just like, boom?
No, they were, as best as I can tell, they were living their lives.
Okay.
And then ISIS went, oh, that's a handy resource for us. We can.
Right, got you.
Yep, snap them up, and then they are going to be the reward that we give our soldiers. It was absolutely disgusting, but that was possible because of the lack of legal framework in Iraq and because of the power vacuum that was left by what might have been a necessary war. I'm not here to litigate that, but it's the consequences of our actions. And the least we can do is to try to be kind when people affected by that come and say, please help.
Yeah. Put humans first. That's what she said.
Put humans first.
I love
please,
that. That is a mantra for life, isn't it? Fabulous.
We could all use a bit more of that. Oh, sorry, it was so heavy. I couldn't do levity this week. I just couldn't. I didn't have it.
It's all valid, and we've all learned, and now we're inspired by wonderful Nadia and everything she's pushing through.
Absolute badass.
Definitely something to be aware of. Yeah, amazing. Thank you.
My pleasure is not the right word.
I know, my
honor to bring that story forward.
Yeah. No, brilliant. We'll catch you soon. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this episode of She Changed History. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Find us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've got any ideas of women you'd like us to cover in a future episode, please comment on the socials or email us at shechangedhistory@gmail.com. Catch you next time.